We finally know how the banners for version 5.5 are going to look like, and this time you actually need to be very careful with your pulls. So without wasting any time, let's get right into it and let's talk about which character is going to be the right choice for your account. So starting with Venti, he's trash. This guy is probably the most power creep character in the entire game. Everything that Venti can do, Kazuha can do as well, but like 100 times better. Unless you really like Venti as a character, there is no reason to pull for Venti at all. Like sure, he can group small enemies with his burst, but that's it. That's the only thing Venti is useful for. But again, Kazuha can do that too, and he's just way better in every way possible. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're just straight up lying to you. But now moving on to the new electro DPS Varesa, this is where it starts to get a little bit more complicated. Cause technically, it all depends on how much you like her and if you already have a strong electro DPS or not. However, if you want your Varesa to be as strong as possible and you want to use her full potential, you're gonna need Xianyun for her, since Varesa is going to be a plunge DPS. So if you don't already have Xianyun on your account, pulling for Varesa honestly might not be worth it, especially if you already have Xilonen. That being said, if you already have Xianyun on your account, then Varesa is definitely going to be worth it as a DPS, and in her best in slot team, she is probably going to be a lot stronger than Xilonen. Now don't get me wrong, Varesa is still going to be pretty good even without Xianyun, but just like with Xiao, Xianyun is going to be a massive boost in terms of damage for Varesa. So yeah, keep that in mind before you go ahead and pull for Varesa, and before we talk about Xianyun in specific, let's talk about Xilonen and why I think she is the best character in the game currently. So first of all, Xilonen is insane when it comes to her buffs that she gives to your team. Not only can Xilonen give your entire team 36% res red and 40% damage bonus, but unlike Kazuha, she can also heal your team. Her buffs are not only way easier to use than Kazuha's, but her buffs also have a longer duration, and she can also buff Geo characters, which makes her even more valuable and even more future-proof. Now obviously, she doesn't have grouping like Kazuha, but I honestly don't think it's really that big of a deal. Cause I tried both Kazuha and Xilonen in pretty much every team I possibly could, and even though there are still some teams in which Kazuha is the better choice, most of the time it's just way easier and way better to use Xilonen even though she doesn't have grouping. And besides, grouping is not as important as it used to be anymore. Like a lot of the new enemies that they put into the Abyss nowadays are not groupable anyway, or they're just very close together, so in the Abyss at least, I don't think grouping is that important anymore. When it comes to exploration though, obviously grouping is still one of the best things to have. So if you are someone who just really loves exploration, combining Xilonen with Kazuha will be absolutely great. Apart from that, another thing to consider is Xilonen C2, because trust me, this constellation is absolutely busted. Pulling for her C2 will change your account forever. Like, I genuinely think that this is the best constellation in the game. So if you already have a lot of characters on your account and you're not sure if you want her C2 or not, yes, it's absolutely worth it and you will not regret it. Now as for Xianyun, it honestly just depends on how much you like to do plunge attacks and if you already have a lot of supports or not. Cause the problem with Xianyun is, you're always gonna be forced to use plunge attacks, which is fun at first, but trust me, after a while it gets really boring. Another thing to keep in mind with Xianyun is that she's not an insane buffer like Xilonen or Kazuha, but she opens up a completely new playstyle and she has really good healing with her burst, which means that she works very well with Fiorina. And if you have Faruzan at C6, you can even use Xianyun as a DPS herself, which obviously isn't going to be insanely strong, but it definitely works if you don't have any other Anemo DPS. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all there is to say. Let me know in the comments who you are going to pull for, and as always, I wish everyone a nice and wonderful day.